Canton Local Board of Education regular meeting, Monday, September 15th, 2025. Join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Schatzel, will you call the roll?
Dr. Null?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Knight?
Here.
Mr. Tedeschi?
Here.
Ms. Davis?
Here.
I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Can I make an amendment amend it? On the agenda under 8.2 in the superintendent report, we're going to remove Alicia Miller as middle school cheer, her supplemental stipend, until after we receive her pupil activity permit. She has not received that yet. We anticipated her having it by now, and she has not gotten it.
All right. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda minus Alicia Miller?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Mr. Schatzel, will you call the roll?
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Brown?
Aye.
Dr. Null?
Aye.
Mr. Tedeschi?
Aye. I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as written for the regular meeting, August 18, 2025. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Mr. Schatzel, will you call the roll?
Mr. Tedeschi?
Aye.
Dr. Null?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Brown?
Aye.
Okay, let's go to the school report.
We are going to turn it over to Ms. Brown. She is going to introduce our new staff, the ones that could make it. Some of them were not able to make it this evening, but the ones that were able to make it, we're going to introduce those to you guys today.
Absolutely. So convocation, we had about 12 new employees that we were able to introduce to the district this year. And those who are here tonight, I want to introduce to you. And I won't embarrass you. I promise the things that you shared with me in orientation are safe. I won't call you out. Might brag on them a little bit though, because it's been a great start to the year. So Drew Ladkey, everyone would you stand up? Drew is our HVAC teacher in our CTE program. And you may have heard him when he came in. How far is your drive to work every day?
Oh, right now, she's right, about 55 minutes.
So we want to keep him very happy so that he is willing to make that drive. We've heard wonderful things. What have you found? What has been your experience so far this year?
Just eagerness for the kids to learn. You know, and right now we're doing high voltage electricity, so they're learning how to do, switches and outlets and stuff. And I had a couple of students already come to me, they said to me like, I didn't know I was interested in electricity before. So they're starting to kind of catch on and get more interested. So it's exciting. I enjoy it.
Excellent. We're hearing amazing things from Ms. Gerhard, Mr. Rahman. My brother-in-law owns Crown Heating and Cooling, and he's hungry for what you're doing. So.
I just drove a cake company driving up the highway, need service technicians, a big number. So I mean, yeah, we're just, the industry needs guys, there's just not enough to replace the older guys retiring. So
Gotcha.
we need more employees.
Excellent. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you everyone, appreciate it.
Yep. Coletta Miller, would you stand up real quick? Coletta joined us this year in title. And even today, I was sharing with her when she came in, her new principal, Erica, is on the phone, and they're talking about how they're going to tweak things and how they're going to change their servicing model with title already. So she's very impressed. The team is coming together. They're doing a nice job. Coletta, you had 3 full days of training before the year even started.
I did, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you still decided to come back.
Yeah. It was great. It was great.
Nice job. We're glad to have you as well.
Thank you.
Mary Mazie is our intervention specialist, our intensive needs. We were just talking about that a little bit. And I think we need to buy you some running shoes. Is that right here? Yeah. Just a little bit. We've got a couple that like to go for little walks of their own, but everything I'm hearing from the admin to colleagues, Allison, they're so thrilled to have you. So welcome. Thank you for being a great addition so far.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great.
Kaylee Munson marching season going?
Hot. Yeah.
They're looking good, they're sounding good. So you start your day, if you would share with the board a little bit. Do you start your day with fifth grade?
Today was actually the first day of fifth grade band. I spent the last couple of weeks getting kids interested, trying instruments, getting them rented, bus routes sorted, those sort of things. Today was our first day of fifth grade band, and it went super well. We had quite a large class of beginners.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you start that up here in this building?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
then where do you go?
And then I go to the middle school for most of the day, 8th grade choir, some middle school general music, some band, and then I come back at the end of the day for high school band and marching band.
We're gonna need to buy a couple pairs of running shoes, I think, for some of our new staff, so thank you so much. And then Nicole Lake joins us and is at multi-county this year. And we were just having a fantastic conversation about some of her students and how hungry she is to get some of their state data so that she can inch them closer to that graduation line and get them across that line. So we're thrilled to have you and your hunger and your desire to help them know that they can be more and go on. So thanks for joining us. So this is our new staff that is here tonight, and like I said, their admin, their colleagues are just bragging on them. We couldn't be happier with our hires this year.
And Nicole is also gonna be our speech and debate coach
Yes.
as well.
We actually had our first official practice this evening, so.
How do you think it went?
It went really well. I think I'm gonna have 5 or 6 kids, so I think it's a good at least start to get us going. And if anyone didn't see out on Canton Local posting, we are doing a fundraiser, so if I've been coffee drinkers, my little plug there.
I owe her $40 already.
So, no, I'm super excited to get the program back up and running here. So.
Excellent. And I did tell them they could leave when they were done, so.
Yes.
there you go.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
So I'll bring them.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Welcome to the
Welcome.
district.
Welcome,
Go
everybody.
Wildcats.
Thank you. Do we have anybody for the hearing of the budget?
Thanks. Drive safe.
I'm sorry.
Anybody sign up for the hearing of the budget?
They did not.
All right, let's go to the treasurer's report. Jason.
All right, only 3 things tonight, but some heavy topics to talk about, so we'll jump right in. Item A is our monthly reports. Exhibit TA1, we have the check listing for the month of August. Grand total of checks of $2,223,875.47. Recommend that for approval. TA2 is our cash reconciliation. Page 1, our reconciled balance at the end of August was for all funds $23,510,492.81. Total deposit accounts were $1,200,243.12. The total investments $22,561,553.75. Pages 2 and 3 are a listing of our fund balances by fund with the grand total that matches the reconciliation. Then page 4 and 5 is a listing of our investments at U.S. Bank, maturities ranging from a couple of months out all the way through June of 2030 with our investment ladder. And then the last page is the monthly comparison through August of last year and then through August of this year, and then our estimates compared to actual. Ending balance in the general fund at the end of August was $11,851,884, and the total matches the reconciliation. We'll get into detail about the finances and where we're at in the general fund when we talk about the 5-year forecast. Exhibit TA3, we have one then and now purchase order for approval. It is 260000636 to Transfinder Corporation for $6,304.79. I recommend that for approval. And then last thing here, but not least, we have a listing of donations for August 2025. Anonymous donor, $200 donation to the class of 2029. Papa Costas, $1,500 donation for girls soccer. Canton South Athletic Boosters, $250 donation for wrestling. Epworth United Methodist Church and Mount Zion Church, $100 donation to Faircrest Elementary Principals account. Kathy Cowgill, $150 donation to volleyball. And Snyder Manufacturing, $400 donation for boys soccer. And I recommend item A, 1 through 4 for approval.
You know, Motion to act on, treasurer's report, item A,
So
1,
moved.
2, 3, and 4.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any questions or concerns? Mr. Schatz, will you call the roll?
Ms. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kvesky?
Aye.
Dr. Noel?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
All right, item B is our permanent appropriation resolution. I've attached a copy as exhibit TB1. Also, we have the budget binder that everybody got a copy of. It's the same format as last year, so it's got all of our budgetary documents listed in there. It's got a listing of our revenue history and our amended certificate for our estimated resources this year for all funds. The appropriations tab has this document in it, as well as some history on our expenditures by fund. And then the forecast, which we'll look at next, is also in there. And we have our property valuations and enrollment all in this book. So it's in one spot for you to look at if you have questions. And as you're looking through, if you have questions, you can reach out to me. But back to the appropriation resolution, exhibit TB1. General fund appropriations for fiscal year 26, $30,267,635. And then a listing of each fund individually there. And the overall total of all funds for our appropriation authority, $37,660,737. I recommend the appropriation resolution for approval. This sets the spending authority for the district for this fiscal year.
Need a motion to act on the item B?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or concerns?
The one item that I couldn't put together is, what do we use for improving teacher quality?
Improving teacher quality.
Yeah,
We
what would
use
be
that
there?
grant, it's for salaries and benefits for our Title I coordinator that we have, Ms. Bartley.
Okay,
And previous years, we used that for Katie Norris for her instructional coaching at the middle school.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Schatz, will you call the roll?
Ms. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kreski?
Aye.
Dr. Noel?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Right, most importantly, we have the, I would say the 5-year forecast, but it's been modified by state legislature. Not sure really what to call it because it's not, they say it's a 3-year forecast, but it's really the current year plus 3. So we're just gonna go ahead and call it the fall forecast. So we have the fall forecast here for review. It has the 3 prior year, fiscal year actual data there, and then the forecasted numbers for revenues and expenditures through fiscal year 2029. So I also gave you some handouts here that I wanted to go through as we talk about the revenue lines. Line 101, general property tax. As we've talked about, we did get a significant increase in our residential agricultural real estate values since we're at the 20 mil floor. That did mean that we did see a bump in general fund revenues, as well as permanent improvement fund revenues a little bit. And also the bond retirement fund is not impacted, but this particular document here, if you look at that, it's called the green sheet. The county auditor gives us this and it lists our values by each class. So we have residential, agricultural, other, and public utilities. It gives you the 3 prior years. So you can see our value went from $468 million in 2022 up to $610 million in 2024. And I kind of wanted to go through how the calculation is done so that way you guys understand how our real estate collections come in. So when you look at 2024 tax year evaluation, I put some numbers there so that way hopefully it's easier to follow because I'm going to jump around a little bit. But our residential agricultural property valuation for 2024 was $299,651,520. So if you look below, under the general fund, our residential agricultural voted millage is 48.2 mils, but the effective rate is 20 mils because over time, this has been reduced down till we reach that floor, which is 20 mils. So to calculate what our collections from residential and agricultural properties is, you would take the 299 million times 20 mils, so the total is 5,993,030. That's our general fund collections from residential and agricultural taxpayers. The next class is other taxpayers, which would be mostly our small businesses and other businesses throughout the township, excluding our public utility companies for their public utility valuation. So that's number 3, 132 million. You bring that down here. They are also reduced, even though the voted rate is at 48.2, they've been reduced down to 20 mils as well. So if you take that number, 132 million times 20 mils, it's 2,644,528. And then the last class of property is the public utility personal property, 178,909,900. You look down below, that number is not, the millage is not reduced for public utilities, so they pay the full voted rate. So when you multiply that number times 48.2 mils, the grand total of collections for public utility companies for the general fund is over 8.6 million. So to use this for, when we've had discussions about the upcoming levy, we've talked about the fact that our taxpayers won't really save anything for our general fund levies, since we've already been reduced down to 20 mils. Even if the two lines on here, if you turn to page 2, the general fund calculation, now this is assuming that the 2024 values would stay for 2025. If the levy wasn't renewed, and that collection were to go away, all those other levies would be, basically would be like reverse 920. So they would be adjusted back up so that we would collect 20 mils. So even if that's eliminated, our residents would still pay 20 mils. So if you do the calculation, it's the same number as it was on page 1. Same thing with other property owners. It's the same million, 2,644,528 as it was on page 1. But if you look at public utilities, 178,909,900 in valuation. If that 8.9 mils in general fund voted millage goes away, they would only be paying 39.3 mils, and their payment would be $7,031,159. So their savings for that would be $1,592,298. That's for general fund collections. And then page 3, I did the exact same thing for our PI levy. So for the PI levy, that's not subject to a floor, so it's reduced over time, so that way we collect the same amount from our taxpayers. So if the levy was not renewed, the numbers you see here would be the savings for each class of taxpayers. So if that wasn't renewed, in total, all of our taxpayers, all 8 or 9 or 10,000 taxpayers that we have, would save $289,419. Other businesses and other taxpayers would save $127,483 in PI, and public utilities would save $339,929. So in total, the district would lose close to $2.2 million, and public utilities would be saving $1.9 million of that amount. Everything else would be split. All those other savings would be split between all the other taxpayers across the district. So then the other page that I put here, just so that way you have it, it's a separate page in here. It basically goes through the tax savings by taxpayer. And then I also put a chart down there for what our average taxpayer would save if the levy wasn't renewed. So $150,000 home value, the owner would save approximately $44 for the year, or about $370 a month. And then those amounts are listed there down below. So that way you have that information in case anyone asks that of you. So if you look at the forecast on line 1.01, that number goes up slightly each year. If there's new construction, we do see an increase in collections for line 1.01. Since we're at the 20 mil floor, we don't have to list anything down below because that renewal levy would not collect starting in tax year 2027. But that doesn't impact our collections. But when you look at line 1.02 for public utilities, you can see that number start to go down significantly. That's because of the savings from public utilities in the general fund. So we can't assume that levy is renewed, so it has to be shown in line 11.02.
Okay.
And if you look at that, that's the number that we talked about that public utilities would save for general fund. The 5-year, or the fall forecast is just the general fund, not all funds. So that's our tax line through fiscal year 29. The other thing I wanted to talk about was our state revenues. So I gave you a handout about state revenues as well. So when we talked about the budget process We looked at how that would impact us based on the simulations that came out over the LSC, at the state level did some simulations by district. So the first page here is our fiscal year 25 state support, and that was 10.1 million. I've underlined that on that page. The LSC simulations that were released by OSBA for our district are attached as page 2, showing 9.7 million, so a loss of roughly $400,000 from last year to this year. But then when we started receiving our collections from for foundation funding, this current report here shows that we're losing close to $900,000. So I reached out to OD, I sent everyone an email with some information in it that kind of explained where we're at because our property value wealth went up. In addition, I think inexplicably, I'm not able to explain it so far. I haven't gotten any information from the state. Our adjusted gross incomes went up by almost 28% from tax year 22 to 23. So I mean, that's a $90 million increase in 1 year from 360 to 450. So those two things, along with we had a loss in students of about 25 students. So if you put them all together, that contributed to a significant loss in state revenues. The wealthier you appear to the state, the less state money you get. So our state share went from 44% down to 35%. So that explains that. So that's why you see line 1.035 and 1.04, that reduction from fiscal year 25 to 26 and 27. We're now at the funding guarantee, so we've assumed that number to be flat for all the years of the forecast.
Jason, when you say we lost students, was it students that lived in the district still that went other schools, or students that moved out of the district, or a combination of?
I think it's a combination of all those things. We have a lot of students moving in and moving out throughout the year, so our number changes quite a bit as we go through the year. Generally our elementary classes are still a little bit smaller than the graduating classes as well, but those are starting to level off. Most of our classes are in the 115 to 120 range with outliers on both sides of it here and there. So.
Which is better than it was for a while there.
Right, we were losing 30 to 40 every single year.
Yeah, and then like 120 coming in, that was rough.
So that has kind of leveled off. And we're at the funding guarantee, so right now, it wouldn't matter if we lost 100 students, we'd still collect the same amount. Now, with the state's discussions about whether or not that funding guarantee goes away, that's concerning for us now, because as that number starts to increase for the funding guarantee, if that goes away, it means big dollars for it. So right now, we're on the guarantee to the tune of about $200,000 or $300,000. Other line items I wanted to call out on the revenue side, the only other real big line there is other revenues at the bottom line, 1.060. Significant portion of that is tuition from other districts. So those kids that come in that are court placed, kids that attend here from Perry, Sandy Valley, and East Canton through CTE, those are reported as tuition collections as well. That number is expected to be $2 million for fiscal year 26. Interest, we saw a pretty significant increase in interest over the last couple of years. Last year we collected about $690,000 in interest. My estimate for this year is just over $600,000. Medicaid collections were $200,000, and then for fiscal year 26, the unique thing about that, we're expecting to collect E-rate reimbursement of about $250,000 this year for the network project that the board approved to upgrade the network throughout the district. So that's the revenues showing. Last year we collected $30.7 million. Pretty much the same number this year projected when we factor in the loss in state revenues, but the increase that we've seen in property tax revenues and public utilities. But then seeing that number start to tail off starting next year, because we have to report our public utilities down below. But when you add the two numbers, pretty much flat revenue situation is what I projected from here through fiscal year 29. So hopefully that's not the case, but being conservative, I think that probably is what it looks like the way we're trending. On the expenditure side, obviously salaries and benefits are our two biggest lines. We're a service industry. So salaries in fiscal year 25 were $16.1 million, projecting $16.3 million for this fiscal year that we're in. We had a 1% base increase for staff, and with the steps Our step factor is about 1.3%, so in total that would be a 2.3%, but we had a few retirements, and we're seeing the savings from those as well. So the estimate for this year, 16.3 million. Next year, we also anticipate, we do have a couple of folks that are retiring this year. Those have been factored into fiscal year 27, and then beyond that, we haven't factored in any retirements, but as those come in, we'll adjust that number as we go. Those would just be the 2.3% increase for base increases and steps. On the insurance side, line 3.020, this year, we got a 5% increase in insurance rates. Last year, I think, was also 5%. That's definitely well below the state average for premium increases, so that's good. We did get one premium holiday again this year, and based on recommendations from the Stark County COG, for future years, we've projected 8% premium increases with one premium holiday, so. Retirements are, STRS and SCRS are also a part of that line. Those are just based on what our staffing levels are, so those are adjusted based on what our salary and benefit or salary line is, line 301. Purchase services, the lion's share of purchase services are out-of-district placements for special education. We have a handful of students that we're not able to educate within our walls, so the right place for them to be might be to be educated elsewhere. That comes at a pretty significant cost. And then we have to also transport them to get them there, so pretty hefty price tag goes with those, but it's the right thing to do for those students, and we have to educate every child to the best of our ability. Another big line item in there is utilities. Everyone knows at home your utility costs have gone up, electricity rates have skyrocketed. We've done some things to help curb that, but we're still seeing a pretty big increase in our utility rates. Tuition paid, another part of purchase services is tuition paid for students attending other districts. Just like we get those revenues in for CT students and Court Place kids coming here, we pay that to other districts as they go out as well. So that's the purchase services line. Last year it was just under 1.3 million, projecting 1.4 million for this year, and about a 2 to 3% increase beyond that. So those are the big lines. That covers about 90% of our expenditures in the general fund. So after the projections for receipts and expenditures, I'm showing for fiscal year 26 ending the general fund with just under 8.7 million. And then as we look, that's line 12.01. By the last year, the forecast, fiscal year 29, that number dips to under 4.5 million, which we're still above the threshold that we set in policy for us to either consider levy options or cost-saving measures of 20% of general fund operating expenditures. So as we move into next year's forecast this time of year, if the revenue situation doesn't change or if we don't have some more retirements, we might have to look at what type of cost measures we can start to put in place, so that way we're talking about what that fund balance looks like fiscal year 2030 and beyond. So.
Well, we have a very high number of teachers who are coming into retirement age though, so
We do.
we can expect that we're gonna be in a good place as far as people leaving
Right.
and cost savings for that.
Every staff member that retires and we replace them, if we replace them on the lower end of the scale, we're saving close to $45,000, close to $50,000 if they have the same insurance program. If they have a single plan and the person that's retiring has a family plan, it could be upwards of $70,000 savings. So yeah, we have in the next 6 or 7 years, I project about 50 to 60 of our staff will roll over. So that's the 5-year forecast. Assumptions, we kind of just went over those, but the detailed assumptions that we posted with are attached as well. And I recommend exhibit TC1, the fall forecast for approval.
Any motion to act on item C, the fall forecast?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Any questions or
Yeah,
concerns?
so Jason, if I'm only looking at revenue and expenditures, beginning with fiscal year 27, our expenses are higher than our revenues. If I only look at those lines.
Yep.
without the public utilities, if the levy wouldn't pass, the savings that residents could expect for a $150,000 valued home would be $44 a year, but the loss to the district would mean we wouldn't be able to meet our expenses if everything else stays relative.
Right, if you add,
Okay.
you'd have to add line 601 and line 11.3. So when you look at that, for next year, even factoring in the levy being renewed, we're spending roughly about $300,000 more than we're bringing in. When we look to fiscal year '28, and that's where those retirement savings start to come in, we're hopeful that we get a few more of those to help to stabilize that bottom line. But if you look at that line, we're about $1.8 million in
Right.
the hole for spending for fiscal year '28, and it just continues to get worse beyond that. And that's factoring in, if you add those two numbers, that levy passing, so.
Okay.
If not, I mean, that number balloons very quickly.
Right, absolutely. And then the state funding guarantee, I've heard of other districts that have been on that. So is this our first fiscal year then that we were?
I would say it's our first fiscal year. It's our first fiscal year in probably 8 or 9, but
So, okay.
it's hard to tell because there was no funding formula for some time, so pretty much everybody was on a guarantee for a few
Oh,
years because
okay.
there was no formula.
Okay.
But since the Fair School Funding Formula was instituted,
Okay,
definitely our first year on the guarantee.
okay, thanks.
Quick question. This is probably to both Jason and Larry. So looking at our projected losses over the next couple of years, I know one is hoping for retirements as a way to help with that, but is there anything that's kind of reactive, like wait and see? Or is there any proactive plans for getting us closer to a balanced budget?
Well, we talk about personnel, that's where you're gonna get it, and we've actually already started to have these conversations where we see areas where if we need to start trimming, we have some ideas on how to do that as well.
And what's the projected timeline? When will that start trimming happen? Like looking at even as soon as, you know, I know we already have our staffing in place for this year, but even looking at it in the spring, because, you know,
I think
giving
we would
notice to
definitely
people.
look at spring, I mean, especially considering the levy, renewal, we could start having those conversations.
And we've already started with, from last year, when you look at our number of staff that we replaced that have left, resigned, or retired, we've not replaced all those positions. So we've kind of started
Yeah.
that ball rolling this year. I'd expect with the couple of retirements that we already have, and hopefully a few more that I'm hearing coming in later this year, that we would be able to do the.
So
the
attrition
same.
is where a big bulk of it is gonna come.
We would love if all of it were to come through attrition and not have to have anybody lose their job. But if we don't have enough of them and we get to fiscal year '28 and we're showing the next fiscal year losing close to $3 million, we're not gonna have any choice. So, anything we can do to help that. I mean, it's a conservative forecast. We could also, our insurance may not cost as much. We may see another boost in some other revenue categories. But for now, we definitely need to be discussing how we can trim in some spots strategically so that way we remain fiscally stable. Conversations we haven't had to have in a while, so.
Yeah, this is definitely new territory.
Anything else? Mr. Schatzel, will you call the roll?
Ms. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kvesky?
Aye.
Dr. Knoll?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to communications.
Thank you for that, Jason. I know, there's a lot of uncertainty here, so, but we'll know more in February forecast as well.
Yeah, hopefully, we will have a lot more information for the February forecast. Our payment data will be updated by then, and we'll have,
We'll know the levy.
Maybe the levy.
we'll know about the levy. We'll also, hopefully have, some staff members as well that communicate to us their intent to retire. Because we do have several that would be eligible for the retirement salary.
And the state, you know, it's an unknown right now today.
Okay, first of all, I know, Angela and I were talking about it earlier, but, the state report card was released today at 10 a.m. And it was really good. A lot of the things we are anticipating, came to fruition, and the report card for Canton Local was really good. I know if, There are 6 categories on the report card. There's the achievement and the growth, the student growth. There's gap closing, graduation rate, early literacy, and the new college and career. Out of the 4 out of the 6, we grew in 4 out of the 6. The other 2, we stayed the same in terms of the stars. I will tell you, if you look at similar districts in the state, they align us with 20 other districts in the state that are similar. We are number 1 out of those 20. And if you look at the county, we're in the top half this year. So there's a lot of success there. We shared it with the principals this year. They're sharing it with their staffs tomorrow morning. There's a lot to build on here. I was telling Jason a little bit this morning. This puts us a year ahead of our timeline. We are really looking at, okay, we need something substantial that we can grab a hold of, that we can launch into this new path forward with expectations. And this puts us about a year ahead of that timeline that I had foreseen, because the report card came back so strong. So I can take no credit for that, but I can tell you that the teachers and the curriculum and what they adopted, and then following it to fidelity, it's paying off. So there were some really good things happening on that report card. You will get a much more detailed, in-depth view of that in October. Jamie and I will sit down with you in a work session before the October meeting and really dig into that data. Jamie's already started digging into it this morning, but the preliminary thoughts, it was really good. I mean, it was definitely a step in the right direction. So yeah, that's a lot to be proud of with the staff here at Canton. So I also want to bring to your attention that we will need to amend our cell phone policy here, and I know many of you are aware of that. Due to the changes in the law, especially on January 1, that's when they've defined instructional time to be the first bell of the day all the way to the last bell. So we'll have to amend our cell phone policy slightly to accommodate that change in the law. I will tell you, and I kind of said this on Tuesday, the state has moved extremely fast in changing this. I've never seen it move this fast on anything. And the fact that they so quickly put this policy in place, it's good stuff. It's going to help us do what we need to do as well in terms of the BRIC initiative. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the BRIC initiative because, number one, thank you for showing up on Tuesday. Some of you were there, some of you were not able to make it. But the BRIC initiative, that cell phone policy is only a third, only step 3 or prong 3. There are 4 prongs to the BRIC initiative. The third one is no cell phones in schools. That's what we can control. The first 2, however, are guidance for our parents that have been longing for in terms of when do I get my kid a cell phone or a smartphone, and how do I set parameters once I do give them a smartphone. Those are the first 3 prongs. The 4th prong is this collective plan where we're really going to shift the mindset where we return to a play-based childhood versus a phone-based childhood, which has been the way for the last 15 years. And that's where the whole initiative of the community comes into play because it's a mind shift. It's getting into the schools, setting curriculum that help with this, but then also getting the parents and the community on board in terms of how do we get our young people to be more independent? Because right now, we've really pulled away from that. And to get parents on board with that, to get staff on board with that, it's going to impact everything we do. So when we talk about the BRIC initiative, and then we look at what's just coming out on the state report card, I will tell you that it's going to impact academic performance. It's going to impact attendance. It's going to impact culture. Those are the types of things that we've been looking for when I listened to the board and the community, that those are the things we really want to impact, and discipline and all these things, and seeing kids at the football games again. And I don't know if we'll ever get to numbers like in the 80s or 90s, but we can get a whole lot closer than we are right now in terms of this improvement. So this BRIC initiative and getting a handle on these cell phones and these smartphones that everybody knows are now negatively impacting our young people, and then adding in let's get our kids more independent than they are right now, because parents in their efforts to be the best parents they can be, they're protecting our young kids more than they have in the past, rather than being coaches and mentors. really gotten our kids further away from being independent, which then impacts their self-worth and their pride and their self-esteem. So that's the initiative moving forward with this BRIC initiative. You'll see that there'll be some things coming out here quickly. We're setting committees as we speak. I actually got to get communication out to the committees this week. We're creating a social media platform with Karen Vraybeck. She's going to be helping with that. And we are going to start meeting with the counselors on Wednesday. We're going to start pushing. They're going to go to it's called push in when they get into the classrooms, and they're going to start setting curriculum for activities for the kids to take home, to do at home without their parents, but with parent permission. That's age appropriate to start this independent, this growth in independence.
Did you have good feedback, Larry, at the end when you had the QR code for parents to volunteer? Did you have many community members that wanted to be on committees, or?
Everybody who responded said they wanted to be on a committee. So yeah, I would have liked 700 people there, but I also know that this is a grassroots effort. It's not being done anyplace else. And I know it starts small. It starts conversations in the community and at ball games and with neighbors and parents banding together to say, enough's enough. We need to get a handle on this. But it will impact everything we do in terms of students, not just their mental health, but getting them back to being independent and that sort of thing. So.
Well, Larry, do you think, how many community were there? I mean, I didn't look around to see. I know there was a lot of staff there, but about how many community actually showed up at that?
Slightly over 20.
Okay. Do you think it would be worthwhile, though, to do that same presentation again, only because of word of mouth pushing out about it? I don't know. I mean, you might be able to hit some more community members.
Yeah, our plan is to do that again.
Mhm.
I think as parents start to hear more about this, more of them will show up.
Okay.
But yeah, we're going to do that again. I have a book discussion on the 23rd, Tuesday, not Thursday. And there's been a lot of feedback. Also, getting the teachers to read, The Anxious Generation, and getting them to buy in, and then their conversations with parents at parent-teacher conferences, and that type of thing is going to go a long way as well. But yeah, we're going to keep pushing this message out because it's smartphones, but it's bigger than that as well. It's this initiative to let kids get back to letting kids be kids and play, play-based childhood versus having them upstairs on their smartphones.
Well, I know even for me, because I heard the message at convocation, then when I attended that meeting, I heard it again, and it was just like I missed certain things the first time through, so I heard so much more the second time through. So even parents coming back and then like, hey, come with me to this meeting, and more people hearing that message, I think it's really good.
Yeah.
And I'm probably a third of the way done with the book,
Yeah.
so it's a very good book.
And the parents that are there, they came up to me afterwards, many of them did, and the same thing happened, earlier at the convocation, those that happen to be parents, they know exactly what I'm talking about when we share that information. They're having those same arguments with their kids at home, at the dinner table, put your phone down, that sort of thing, getting them motivated. So, yeah, it's going to be a game changer when it starts impacting everything we do. So.
Larry, I thought it was being recorded and it was gonna be pushed out, is it?
It is. Karen has it, and she's trying to figure out how to post it because she recorded it on her phone. But it's going to be there. She is building right now a link on the website, a brick, and so she's got to link the video. But there's also going to be resources on there like Wait Till 8th, which is a website that gives parents tools to help set parameters on their child's phone, and then how to have that conversation with your kid the first time about their smartphone so that you don't get irrational pushback from your young person. So Wait Till 8th is a great website. Now, they say wait till 8th because they say wait till 8th grade to give your kid a smartphone. We go 9th grade or high school, but it's the same type of concept. They have lots of resources on that Wait Till 8th. There'll also be connections there in terms of if parents want to read additional books, iGen or The Coddling of the American Mind or Let Grow, that'll also be on there as well. So it's just not going to be the video, but there's going to be resources as well. It's going to be exciting. You know, and then I have to get a hold of the committees this week, but each committee is gonna have tasks that they're going to do that's really gonna start hitting the ground and getting this message out. So, yeah, it's exciting.
It's definitely exciting, and I'm excited to be part of it, because I feel like it's, you know, trailblazing a new frontier. But I also, am curious how we'll measure success.
All of the, so
Or
specifically.
success attendance, and then that's okay, if that's what it
Specifically,
is.
no,
It's like,
specifically, there are lots of ways that we can measure it. Number one, you know, some of the intangibles, we could do it through surveys. We could do it through student, staff, and parent surveys. But all those surveys would look differently for each
Oh, yeah.
one. So there are surveys. Now, the tangible stuff that we look at attendance, has the rate of attendance.
I know, you won't leave us
That has
alone.
the attendance rate increase, because I know that's a big concern. We're gonna be looking at, school culture. We're gonna be looking at attendance at games. We're gonna be looking at academic success. We're gonna be looking at discipline, because discipline will go down as well. So yeah, there's a lot of factors, a lot of them play into that report card that we just looked at. And, but yeah, we'll be measuring all those, to see if what we're doing is having an impact with our young people. I think surveys also help with the student, staff, and the
right,
parents.
and the reason why I bring it up is because we give you, not we, you give guidance and are helping and encouraging the at-home changes, but we can only really control the change at the school.
Yes.
So a lot of that success is dependent upon things continuing outside of school. So I wouldn't want us to ever think it's not gone well if it has gone well, because there's only so much, like, there's a lot of education that can get out, a lot of information that can be placed, but we can only truly know what we're capable of changing. So I don't know, like I say, if attendance actually is a measurement, like more community continues to engage, whether, you know, there's changes in their style of social media use, but I just want us to be, you know, realize that we may not see immediate success because we're only one piece of the 4 prongs, right?
I would agree with that.
2.5 pieces.
I think we play a large piece in it, in the independent piece, because we'll be pushing that out through
Right, the
curriculum.
independent, yeah.
I think that's gonna play a major role in the culture of our buildings.
Okay.
I know if you go into the elementary and the middle school, the culture is much different than at the high school, because the high school students are so attached to their phones. The middle school kids, they pretty much go the whole day without their phones as it is. I'll walk through those halls and I'll say hello, good morning, and the kids are smiling, they're responding back. I do it through the high school right now, and I know they're high school kids, but just the temperature is different, because you can tell those kids have been up later, and they're not as attentive, and they're not as cheerful, and it's impacting everything.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot of change, but it is gonna take some time. But I think we're gonna see changes sooner than what we think.
Okay.
I will tell you, I'll just share, there are schools that went, they went immediately to no phones. They have seen a drastic change already, what's going on. Now we waited a little bit longer because the students hadn't heard about it, the parents hadn't heard about it, and I wanted to support the teachers and at least have those conversations with the Ys to the kids and to the teachers and then to the community. I don't think we're gonna get any pushback whatsoever. I mean, I think all parents are like, yeah, it's about time, that sort of thing. We're trying to try to get this to them at home as well. Like, what we're trying to do too is empower the parents so that they know that, listen, if I wanna use my child's phone as a behavior tool, I can now do it and not worry about breaking my kid. Because we take them at school, or the kids are without them for 7 hours, so I know I can take your phone and I'm not gonna break you. Right now, a lot of parents are afraid to even think about taking their child's phone because they're gonna get a fight, they're gonna get a screaming match, their child may have a breakdown, may threaten to hurt themselves, and then you end up parenting differently. So I think what we're also doing is empowering our parents to, like, use that did with the car when we turned 16. So I think what we're doing is going to empower parents too to get control of that phone back. So,
Larry, have you heard any conversations since convocation from teachers about decreasing computer time during class? Because I know a lot of school districts, I'm hearing little pieces and parts like, for example, a Canton City elementary building that's like, your kindergarten class only has 4 computers and you are only allowed to use it this much of the day.
Yeah.
And so they're really also, so when we talk about stuff we can control, so did any teachers like think that was like the anxious generation, or your discussion was pushing them to do less computer work?
Not yet. Not yet. I know what COVID did was pushed everybody to one-to-one. And there was good and bad in that. Good because we kept the doors open, and bad because it pushed everybody to be dependent on the devices. I think what we're looking at, what we're gonna be pushing out, the guidance that don't give your 2-year-old an Apple device, or don't give them an iPad, because they're great babysitters, but you're also rewiring your young person's brain when they're 2. In terms of getting into the kindergarten 1, 2, 3, and limiting screen time, we have not approached that yet. But I think there's some value in it.
I think it'd be a good January session to
Yeah.
have teachers meet together and kind of look at their screen time that they have, at all grade levels really, you know,
Yeah.
and like, can we, like, because let's look at it as a whole for the whole day for a child, because I have my
Yeah.
students on computers, but I only have 40 minutes, I don't know what everybody else has done, that could add up to a kid being
Oh,
on a
sure
computer
does.
for, you know,
Yeah.
6 hours a day, so.
Yeah. Well, and there's a big piece of the anxious generation, Jonathan Haidt, that talks about, like, we need to start limiting the amount of screen time at school. So, yeah, there's just so many that, you know, then you talk about the attention fragmentation, which the anxious generation doesn't even get into, and the fact that our young people can't even focus anymore for longer than 5 minutes. So, I know there's a lot of teachers talking about it. In terms of convocation, the anxious generation, Melissa Kolb has, I want to say 42, but it could be higher than that, teachers who signed up to be part of the book study. So there's a lot of teachers that are on board with this as well. So, yeah. So I want to spin it real quick to athletic facilities. We talked about facility use, and that's something that came up right when I was getting on board. And in October, I'm gonna share with you, we decided to go with electronic, we'll track these things electronically, where those staff members who want to use the facility are gonna have to sign a liability waiver. And in addition to that, they're gonna have to sign out, in and out, when they're using the facility. And we were having discussions earlier that may work best electronically through a Google form, to where if they get in there, they can sign the waiver and then sign in, sign out on a Google form. So we're not keeping hard copies at one particular, whether or not it's at the gym, or whether or not it's in the wrestling room, or those types of things. We're gonna be able to keep it on a spreadsheet as well, so that we know when staff are in there. So I'm gonna have that for you in October, what that electronic form will look like, and I'll bring copies of it as well. But we thought we would have it in October, so that we're well in front of bad weather when coaches or when some of our staff wanna come inside to use the facilities.
Does this include when staff come in, of course, on their own to use facilities, but does it include when they bring people who are not staff?
It would.
Because I think that was, 2 complaints that came in were related
Yeah.
to staff members coming and using facilities, but bringing people
Yeah.
who aren't even staff.
And we're gonna, it all depends, like, are they bringing in Canton South students, or are they working with Canton South students? We're gonna frown upon those staff members bringing in outside groups, or like those groups that play basketball, that they bring in 10 guys with them that aren't from the area, and they're not Canton South students. We're gonna frown upon them, we're probably gonna shut that down.
Do we have a policy somewhere, like, because I know it's easy to say frown upon it, but when
Yeah.
people do it and then they're like, oh, I didn't know I was
Oh.
supposed to, to, and then it kind of keeps continuing. Is there gonna actually be a policy that we can say, now it is shared in writing, here is the
Yeah, you
policy?
know-
You can't do this,
Yeah.
you can't do that, or if you wanna do this, here's the steps. Cause I feel like
Yeah.
that's kind of what got us in trouble before, is there was no
Yeah.
policy to follow or not follow, so
Yeah.
it wasn't really clear to people what you could or couldn't do, so I think just
Yeah, and you're right,
having
frown
something
upon
in
is probably
written
not
would
the,
be.
not the word that I wanted to use. Yeah, we need to set a policy for it, whether or not we change the board policy or not, we could talk about that as well. But yeah, we're not gonna allow those groups to come in and use the facility when it doesn't involve Canton South kids and it's, beyond just the staff employees.
I just have one quick question.
Yeah.
At the football games and different, at the stadium, you can't take in any beverages anymore.
Okay.
But what about the youth events? Is that, because I noticed, I went to one of the youth events, football games, last Saturday, and everybody had all their drinks and stuff, so I thought, is that just for our events, or is that,
You bring up a really good point.
We have resource officers at our events.
Yes.
Or sheriff's officers. I think it'd be very hard to police at a.
Well, I just didn't even know how that worked, because there are kids, but they're not, it's not like our sanctioned sports,
Yeah.
right? So,
But they're using our facilities,
But
but
they-
like, we have an SRO or a sheriff's officer
Mhm.
at the gates, just so that the people taking tickets don't have to worry about being confronted, although we haven't had anybody push back. I'm not quite sure how we would, especially if you have parents volunteering at the gate.
Is
Are
the
they charging
concession stand
admission?
open?
yes.
Yes, it's a $2 admission, and we do have, and I say we, even though I'm just a parent of it, I'm not involved with the 501, but, we have parent volunteers to collect the $2 for adults, all children are, free, and then Canton South, we offer concessions, but this past Saturday, we were at Maslin, and they don't offer concessions, and so people could bring in, like, no one was checking your
Right.
purse, right? So if you had a child with you and you wanted to bring them snacks because they're gonna be there for an hour. But Canton South does offer concessions, so I guess we could say, like, because concessions are offered, we'd rather you help us as a fundraiser, because that's what concessions are for the youth sports. But I think, it might be a little bit tricky or harder, just because, like, you're saying if there's police, but some of those parents are there from 10 a.m. to 3 in the afternoon.
I just didn't know how
Because
your
they have
policy
multiple
was
games,
working, because the
yeah.
signs are still there, it's still in that stadium,
Yeah,
and now it's not
because we
happening.
enforce it on Friday nights, but not
Yes.
on Saturdays.
Right.
Um,
I mean, I didn't say anything, I just observed it,
Right, right.
Hey, you can't have that liquid,
Yeah, that's something we could look into. I don't know how we would pull that off on Saturdays, but, we can talk about it.
Or unless there's some kind of word that's put out that if this is not, if it's this type of function, it's okay. I just don't want this
Yeah.
coming back on us saying, well, I took stuff in on Saturday when I went and watched a child play football, but now I can't take it in here.
Yeah, and I know in Angela, the city, like they went to Maslin and they
Mhm.
allowed it so that parents bring their own drinks,
Right.
and then away parents as well, like Maslin.
Right, I was gonna say, the way parents don't have any way to
Yeah.
know,
Yes.
to not show up with stuff,
And
so
with the
you
youth
can-
sports, like, at least the youth football, it's really, you never know which one you're gonna show up that offers concessions or doesn't, because it is a fundraiser.
And probably you're bringing, younger families, bringing small kids,
Mhm.
they wanna have snacks. for
Yeah,
their
and like you
kids.
say, and
Yeah.
Yeah, and they wanna
especially
have
with the younger ones.
juice
they're there.
boxes and different things, just to keep those kids occupied, because, they wanna bring them,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but they're not that interested.
I'm okay with it, I just
No, it's a
wondered,
good question.
about the difference,
Yeah.
so.
From Central, they had the concession stand open, but you could only go in one gate. Now, they weren't checking for anything, bringing anything in.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
The
on our
one gate
community
I
use
use.
form, you could just put a little blurb, that this is our policy, whenever a organization signs up to use our facilities, cause they have to fill out paperwork
Right.
for facility use. I mean, we can put on there that, that it's your organization's responsibility to ensure that this is our policy. And then, cause we on the community use form, it was shared with them, and it's up to them to police it.
Yeah, I think that that's a good idea, only because of the change in policy for other, events in the stadium.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea. And then who does all the cleanup and the concession stands after those? Does the organizations have to do that?
They do, but we also have janitor here. Like
Okay.
Jerry was here 2 Saturdays ago when we were here.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a problem until it was a problem. So then I think
Yeah.
the same thing's gonna happen with the youth. It's
Yeah.
not gonna be a problem until it's
Till
a
it's a
problem.
problem.
And then we'll address the problem, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at least if it's on our facility use form,
Yeah,
our responsibility has been shifted.
put it back on them.
Sounds good.
Okay. And the last thing I just wanted to mention was, the track. The track is now officially done. It looks amazing. I know there was some concern, there was like a seam on it. I think you spotted it, Rick. We talked to Matt at, Vasco, me and Jason did, and he assured us structurally it's not compromised at all. It's where they started and when they
That's right.
stopped. He goes, unfortunately, we can't lay the entire track down in one shot. He said, but,
Come on.
because it'll also fade in and you won't be able to see it as it starts to get used. So,
Is there only one seam?
one seam that we saw,
Yeah.
but there could be more, because if they didn't put it all down one time.
I should talk to my countertop people. I have more than one seam.
There's three.
There's three.
He said there's three, but if you can't find them.
That's-
Then he's not gonna point
If
it out,
you
yeah.
can't find them, I'm not gonna tell you, so.
Okay, okay.
But there's a 5-year warranty, and so if anything like that would happen, he said, just give us a call. But, that's all I have for, communications.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to the superintendent's report.
You know, one more, so, communication with you guys, and this is something that I've been worried about, and Angela and I were talking about it earlier. It was shared with me, an update that the former superintendent, who's now having difficulty at Lake, for the topic, it was shared with me, a piece of his communication, and it came, and I looked at the date, and it was like the Friday before a board meeting. And I'll be honest, I was feeling like, I was telling Angela, I was like, I feel like I haven't talked to the board in like a year. Me sharing that type of information with you would make me feel better in terms of peace of mind. When would you guys like to get that? Because my immediate thought was, I'll give it to you guys right in the middle of a board, in the middle of the board meetings every 2 weeks. But then the one that I saw was right like that Friday before the board meeting. So if I was going to do, when would you like that, or what the frequency of that? Do you have a preference?
The Friday, for me at least, when Brett would do that, he would kind of cover if anything was on the agenda too that we kind of needed to know about. So it's fresh. I mean, we have this paperwork, we have that information, so it all ties together. It's not like I read that a week ago and now I'm moving on to this, I don't know, that's what works for me, but you may have different opinions on that.
That worked for me.
That's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
okay, perfect. All right, now I'm done with communications.
Okay.
Okay. Now you go on the superintendent's report.
All right, we have personnel resignations and retirements. Rachel Taylor is resigning. She was our EMIS coordinator, as I shared with you. Her resignation will be effective August 3rd. She is returning to Florida following a life-changing event. She has decided to return to her family. Joyce Kirkpatrick, transportation supervisor, resignation for retirement effective October 31. Now, our intent is to bring Joyce back after 60 days and have her work part-time 3 days a week. And so you'll hear more about that next month in October. But in her place will be Jen Caw and Lori Lancer, who are already bus drivers, but they'll be splitting time in the bus garage, pretty much handling dispatch and that sort of thing for Joyce. And then we have Nicole Boyd. She is resigning from her 6-man venture supplemental contract. She's a counselor at the high school, but she's just no longer going to be on the 6-man mentor team. In terms of employment, we'll start with Lori Michael. She is our replacement for the EMIS coordinator. We're going to start her on step 4. She'll be actually starting on Wednesday. She'll be working with Rachel for a limited amount of time before Rachel takes off. but she comes to us from Southeast Local. She also comes with experience in enrollment and civil rights, which is gonna pay dividends for us. Allison Faust, she spoke earlier. She's a special education and preschool coordinator. We're increasing her from step 1 to step 2 on the administrative salary. We had approved her, but it did not reflect the 1-year experience that she had in pre-K. So we're gonna grant her that 1-year experience for her special education coordinator. And then Kathy Strobel, she's the education parapro. 4-year, she's a temporary position, and she's temporary because of Georgia Marcoldi having to temporarily step away due to health concerns. Sarah House, she's the bus driver, 4 hours per day. Sarah, we're waiting on verification on Sarah. You'll see that there's not a step on there that we're starting her on because she is having difficulty on verification of one of her employers is not being kind and giving her those years so she can verify it. So as soon as she gives us that verification, we'll amend that and you'll see that change. Cadence Herbert, she's the PAC technician, student worker as needed, as well as Ellie Ayers, student worker as needed. Brian Ravenscroft, student worker as needed, as well as Janasia Calhoun, student worker as needed. Abigail Bryan, musical assistant, level 1 supplemental contract. Crichton Rothermel, he is the PAC event manager, level 1 supplemental contract. Kaylee Munson, you met her earlier. She is going to take the Canton South Middle School Choir level 2 supplemental contract. And that's half the contract, and the other one's gonna go to Amy Hogue as the middle school choir level 2 supplemental contract. Joe Rutherford, he is the fall weight room. He gets a $3,000 supplemental contract. And then there is Matt Dennison, equipment, laundry, football, that's a $2,000 supplemental contract. What Matt does, rather than sending our uniforms out for $7,000 to $8,000 to clean, he actually cleans them himself. He spends time each day after practice washing uniforms. So he gets that supplemental contract. Addison King, event worker, effective for the 25-26 school term. Madison Maley, she's an event worker as well. And Rick Wessels, substitute custodian, effective for the 25-26 school year. I'd like to make a recommendation to approve items A1 and A2 under personnel.
Okay, we get a motion on to approve, to act on A, personnel 1 and 2.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Mr. Schatzel, will you call the roll?
Dr. Noel?
Aye.
Ms. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Kvesky?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Miscellaneous, B1 is to authorize transportation provided by third parties for students placed outside of the district. This has to go a little bit with what Jason had talked about when we have to send students outside of the district. I'm just asking for authorization to be able to provide those transportation services for those students. 2, similarly, we're gonna authorize outside placement of students with disabilities as determined by the special education director. Again, sending those kids out and allowing us to pay the per diem rate to those different organizations for those students. Number 3, we have overnight student trips. You'll see that in Exhibit SB3. We have the speech and debate tournament in Toledo, and then the vocal festival and educational clinic at Tiffin University in Tiffin, Ohio. And then finally, 4, Sunday participation, wrestling open mats on Sunday evening 6 to 8. September 6, 2025, Breck Bueller Stadium for Canton South Youth Football from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's all day. Sort of like what you were talking about in that when families bring food and drink in. And then September 27th, also Breck Bueller Stadium, Canton Youth Football for the same time. So at this time, I'd like to make a recommendation to approve those items B1 through B4 under miscellaneous.
Okay, a motion to act on B, items 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any questions or concerns?
Do we need, the youth is actually on Saturdays. That September 6th is a Saturday and September 27th are Saturdays.
Probably should have said
Is
use
that-
of facilities.
What's that?
All the Sunday.
Yeah, they're not a Sunday participation, it's just a Saturday.
So B and C should probably have said use of facilities instead of Sunday participation.
Yeah, use of facilities, yes.
Okay, I mean, I'd still make the motion that we approve it, I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware those were Saturdays.
I'll make sure in the actual minutes that we're approving use of facilities for B and C
Okay.
instead of participation for A.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just clarification, why Sunday evenings?
You mean for wrestling open
Yeah.
nights? You know, I don't know. My guess, I don't know why Sunday evenings.
I'm just not comfortable with Sunday participation,
Yeah,
as a constant.
yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about it, like, if there was like competitions
Yeah.
or something that was sponsored outside the school that was scheduled, we were okay
Oh,
with
like
that.
cheer.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
cheer competitions happen that day, but that we wouldn't open the door to
Right,
just
yeah.
regular things that they just happen to pick that day on. So I think I agree with Rick that this opens a can of worms if
Yeah.
we've allowed a coach to be like, oh, let's have them come in like an open gym or open mat and do it on Sundays, so.
Yeah. I don't know why that's, I mean, being as familiar as I am with wrestling,
Yeah, I'm just not comfortable with Sunday, opening it up to Sunday evenings and now, then it becomes Sunday afternoons and then Sunday mornings,
yeah.
it's,
It's family time.
It's
Do you wanna vote on 1 through 3 and 4 separately?
I would like to separate it out.
I would like to.
Okay. And I can get more information to you.
I mean, I have no problem with the open gyms, I just have a problem with the Sunday evenings.
Okay. Yep.
So then, Tom, would my motion just be, we're gonna do it one at a time, then?
We can do 1 through 4, and exclude item A from 4.
Okay, so my motion will still stand, I don't know if we're changing that.
We'll just exclude.
A for separate vote.
Are we good to go then?
Got it, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Schatz, will you call the roll?
Dr. Knoll?
Aye.
Ms. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Kreski?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Okay, so.
If Joe would happen to give me some justification that blows me away, I'll share with him.
Yeah,
Great.
he can always come back and share with us with the.
Now, can I get a motion?
Do we wanna vote on that, or do we wanna just let you
Table it?
table
Yeah,
it?
let's
If
take it.
somebody wants to make a motion, they can, if not, they just
I would,
rest for now.
I would just like to table it myself
Okay.
and get a little,
Yeah, some more information on it.
and maybe give them an opportunity to change maybe a day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put in the minutes that item 4A was tabled for further discussion.
Right.
Okay.
When was he thinking about starting those? Sunday?
You know, what happens a lot of times with the coaches, they all kind of pick a different night, and so kids from different schools will come to your wrestling room, to wrestle. I know I can't say most, your bigger programs have this, but I haven't heard it on a Sunday night before.
Okay.
But let me find out.
Okay.
And I'll come back to you.
Perfect.
And then could you just make sure you communicate with him that he's not coming in on Sundays?
Yep,
Like if
Until,
he had plans,
yeah.
I don't know if he put a schedule
That's
or
why I
whatever,
wanted to know
but.
when it was starting, yeah.
yeah. I'll talk to him tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. We good to go, Jason? Okay. Informational items, board concerns?
What did we vote?
Yeah, we voted on that,
Yeah.
and then we tabled 4A.
Table four,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Did you have anything, Rick?
No, there's a lot of confusion going on right now, and I'd like to get, see how things play out in the legislature right now. Right now, it's a mess. It really is. They're focused on redistricting, and there's so much going on. It's crazy. And vetoes.
Yeah. Yeah, those are still a thing.
Other business?
The only other thing I had for other business, tomorrow's the housing information for Capital Conference, so I'm gonna be trying to secure rooms for everybody, so if you start to get an email about rooms, I'm gonna book everybody for the 2 night, for Sunday and Monday night, and then I can go back and modify that. So if for some reason you don't want Sunday and Monday, we can modify that later, but in order to lock in, if I try to do each person's time individually, it's gonna lock me out, and then I'm gonna end up getting you get that and
Cable
you see
West.
that, don't be alarmed.
Okay.
We'll get it modified to what you need, we'll make sure we get your accommodations what you want.
Thanks.
Okay. Questions pertaining to agenda items or board action can be emailed to Larry, Jason, or myself. Okay. I'll make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss the process of the evaluation of the superintendent.
Second.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? Mr. Schatz, will you call the roll?
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Brown?
Aye.
Dr. Noel?
Aye.
Mr. Kresge?
Aye. Okay, we're back in regular session. I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any questions or concern? Mr. Schatz, will you call the roll?
Mr. Kresge?
Aye.
Dr. Noel?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Ms. Brown?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.